Officially called to order the Tuesday, January 14th meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. As always, we'll start with a roll call. I'm Brian Barabee.
Emily Winter.
Kit McNamara.
William Payne.
Rebecca Longbaugh.
All right. First up tonight, we're to the NOI.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to have a sheet?
And then just
So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now hold a public hearing under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider the notice of intent filed by Dave Sadowski for the proposed addition on the existing single-family home located at 164 Green Road in Bolton, Mass. Public meeting to begin this evening, Tuesday, January 17th, here at Bolton Town Hall. I'm sorry, January 14th in Bolton Town Hall. All right. What do we have proposed? Sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and agent and interested interesting parties. My name is Dave Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates. We're out of Clinton, Massachusetts. Along with me are the Callahans. This property was built at about the turn of the century. It was known as the Callahan Farm. Over the years, it has shrunk down. There's about 6 acres of land here at the farmhouse, which is a single family. What the Callahans would like to do is put a attached garage with addition above the garage on the, as you're looking at it, on the right-hand side of the existing house. We had looked at, the thing is, over in here was a seasonal swale with a huge swamp in the back and a beaver dam. It has become a perennial stream that flows through this area. It was located by Alton Engineering, and flags were put demarcating buffer and also the actual high water mark of the stream. It's 55 feet from the proposed addition. Now, we looked at alternative areas to put the addition. In the back was the septic area, plus there's a parking area for the Callahans. They have a Callahan tent. They have several trucks and other things that park up in this area by the blueberry bushes, which won't be touched. The access way comes over in here to get to the 6 acres, not down by the wetlands, and also their existing well is over in this area. So any type of an addition here would violate the well setback to the foundation. So we analyzed the different areas, and this seemed like the most logical area to put this garage addition onto the existing building. The kitchen is too small and the family is growing. There's no room in the existing house. There'll be a retaining wall in this area here to help protect the stream itself, and it's built into the side of a hill, so the hill will also act as a buffer to help mitigate or knock down any type of flow that may occur in this area.
just for the commission to be familiar with this. This is abutting the Hanson land for Vaughan Hills, so that's the stream that comes down from the beaver pond that he's talking about. And so this is the low area if you enter the Vaughan Hills property to your left, if you enter off of Green Street.
So is the stream flowing now?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. It has since the beavers built the dam. It used to dry up. When I was a kid, it was dry all summer long. There was nothing in it. But since the beavers built the dam, it trickles almost. This summer it dried up for probably about 6 weeks. But other than that,
we don't have any.
We had a drought this summer, and other than that, it trickles through the dam. It's just a continuous trickle. It's not coming. I don't think it's coming over. I haven't gone out there probably a year, but I have gone out before to look at a concern being below it. But
there's a 15-inch diameter pipe that goes under Green Road that this stream flows into. So the 15 is sufficient for whatever's flowing. So the flow is a minimal flow, but it's a constant flow. So it is mapped.
The only time it ever failed was the ice storm in 08. And I was there for it. But it used to be a 12-inch pipe that went through the road, and when Harold redid it, they did, when Harold Brown was on, he did a 15. I think it should have been 2 foot, but.
then
So,
you
so the
come in.
plan
So
shows
I knew
the plan shows the 100-foot offset from the buffer, it shows the buffer zone itself, and it shows the flags that were located along the bank of the, and you can see how narrow, the flagging was on either side.
And then
of
the
plan.
BBW comes out to here, I see that line.
Mhm.
The stream itself is 10 inch to 12 inches wide that drops down in. It's,
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's listed on the town as a river, and when they came out to do the soil samples and flag it and everything, he's like, where's the river? I'm like,
Mhm.
you're standing next to it.
I think it's named Still River that continues, which the name,
Yeah.
Is it part of the Still River?
so that's what I'm saying is, it's sort of a moot point because it's a perennial stream, so it still has the, riparian area associated with it, but that's what I would need to double check, because I saw that and I was like, doesn't change the resource area, the name of the river, but I'm also curious because it doesn't make
No,
sense
yeah,
to
I'm just
me,
curious.
cause that would mean it flows down, it's probably a tributary of sorts, but in fact it is, but anywho. Does the commission have any?
Oh,
immediate
there's also
questions or
a,
thoughts?
there's also an elevation that shows the existing house is here, and this is what the proposed addition would look like.
And the pros is the one big garage?
Yeah.
What's there now? This is
Grass.
just
It's a
lawn?
bank, yeah, it's a big
it's-
bank, and it's just a hill.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any harvesting of trees or anything like that that would be removed from the site.
And this is your septic tank it's showing
Yeah,
directly behind the home?
yeah, there's a septic tank behind the
So
home.
the
there's a
stream is
septic-
on this side of it, right in here, down here somewhere?
This
Yeah,
is the
it's down,
septic
yeah, it
field
would
up
be
in
the
this area.
55 feet
There's
off
gravel
of this
parking
wall,
here,
down the hill.
the tank out
What's
the back,
the drop
a
between
deck,
this corner
there's a
and this
handicap
down
ramp,
I
the
think he's
person
got
that
like
needs it in the
8
house,
feet or
and
something.
this access road gets to where the handicap
Yeah.
is to allow them to get out, because
Drop.
the house
Yeah.
front door sits 8 to 9 feet off
Yeah.
the front yard, so there's no way for
Yeah,
anyone to get
yeah,
out
yeah.
but through this back here.
So,
And so if an ambulance did have to come, it would have to come up the driveway to get to the handicap ramp.
so what my immediate thought was, and I think I mentioned it when you came in just to sort of throw some ideas out, was to see if you could put something behind the house, which I appreciate you looked into, and I understand the septic's here, and I appreciate you including that on the plans, because obviously that's a limitation on the site. Same thing with the septic tank,
The well location.
the well location as well. Just looking at this, and I'm not an architect by any means, but because this is in the inner riparian area, and if there is work to be done, it allows 30% within the riparian area if the commission sees that as feasible. And then you're supposed to leave 100 feet of vegetated buffer. So, the reason why I'm thinking out loud is there an ability to have this addition next to the septic tank? And again, I'm not Board of Health, so I don't know what the answer to that is. In terms of offsets from this, I know leach field you need certain offsets. But that would be my only thing, because then you can keep the ramp, you have enough buffer area, there wouldn't need to be I mean, it would still be heavily conditioned if the commission were to approve it, I'm sure, but that's moving it out, further outside of the resource area. And it would allow you to have, even though you have a structure here and you have an altered area already, it would still allow that 100-foot vegetated buffer that's required, under the Wetlands Protection Act. But that's just my thought, and it's up to the commission, but that's just my immediate question, I guess.
One thing for sure is if the addition was to even try to go back here,
Yeah,
there's no way that garage under would work, because of elevation. This is a flat area now, which allows access to this handicap ramp.
yes,
So it's all the same elevation as the house.
okay,
And it would bounce into this area here, which is the only access to get back to these, 6.5 acres. If we, with the side of the hill down in here and the wetland, there's no way to take a vehicle anywhere
There's
over
no
here.
way to shift
other than up here.
this way?
Well,
There's
it-
not, the
and
property
widen
line's
it?
right there.
Well, it can shift somewhat, but I mean, it's more ideal here. If we were to do a calculation of all the riverfront area,
Mm-hmm.
way out into this area and the brook actually comes, and then actually if we included the 100 or the 200, we'd be well under a 30%
Mm-hmm.
requirement. The only requirement we wouldn't make is 100 feet of vegetation, which some of this house doesn't offer anyways. Some of this house is within the 100 feet, even though it's a pre-existing
Right, this
non-conforming
portion.
section. There's no 100-foot buffer at this point here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the flow works best because the old kitchen is right in this area, the kitchen could be expanded here. There'd be the garage under right here, so he can take his vehicles in
Mm-hmm.
and be able to keep it in the wintertime. They have a 1.5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
The family can be growing a little bit bigger, excuse me, in the future. And it's an addition that's needed, so.
So I don't think that, I'm not questioning the necessity to the family for the necessity of the addition for the family, because I completely understand that, and I completely understand interior layout, maybe it makes more sense, but we're charged with trying to protect the resource areas, and we have certain regulations, so that's, I'm stating, these are the regulations we have to work with, how can we possibly, or how can the commission look at this and assess it under the regulations and say, yep, you can do that, these are the conditions on how to do it, or how can we make this more feasible and accomplish your goals at the end of the day. But that's just my insight, and if the commission has other thoughts or questions. It is existing lawn right now, and this is currently a blueberry field, isn't necessarily the right word, but
36 bushes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How do you access the
nasty.
6 acres now?
the gravel road that comes up around the left-hand side of the
There's
house.
a gravel road right there?
Yeah,
so it's the driveway and then
It's a-
continues.
yeah. yeah, it comes up now and it winds from this old garage. When you come up, it winds and goes right around this side of the house.
And then how,
And it's
do you
probably
know the year of the house?
78.
1900.
It was built in 1978.
So that's still after.
That house, yeah. The permit's still on the beam in the basement.
Good.
Yeah, it was built as a retirement house for my grandmother. The original homestead, they are the owners of, actually, right
Nice.
next door. So they're the property of butter to the left side.
Yeah.
And I only, is there a, I don't even know if there's a measurement to that property line from the house. I think it's only about 25 feet or something.
No, it's
From the
40
house?
feet.
No,
40
it's
feet?
40, so
Okay.
that's why I was asking, and I
Yeah.
don't know the offsets for the driveway,
Yes,
so that's why
But-
I'm looking at this and going, again, from a conservation perspective,
the addition would have to be a lot bigger then because we'd be trying to go onto the end of our bedrooms and we'd have to reconfigure
well,
everything.
honestly, if you're building the addition over here, oh no, you're still in the outer. But you're going onto a driveway,
And if it went forward, it would be within the well. There's a setback,
What would
I'm
be-
sure. There's a setback from
addition?
the well, yeah, if it went forward up against the corner.
because it's 1970 house. So the reason why I was asking for the year of the home was one, for the pre-existing under the riparian area, which I know a little bit of the history, so I know
Mhm.
that obviously it's been existing,
Yeah.
so it is
It was the
included
cow
in that.
pasture. When it was the farm, it was the cow pasture.
But I was hoping it predated, wasn't hoping, but the other side of that question is, does it predate the Wetlands Protection Act, and this one doesn't. The other house may, that one does
Mhm.
not. Which doesn't mean much, but it tells me about the existing structure and what was allowed to be permitted.
Mhm.
Was Riverfront part of the original Wetlands Protection Act? Or was
the
that something that was
riverfront-
added on?
It was later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Riverfront came in the 90s.
Questions, thoughts?
I mean, the only thing I can possibly think of, and it doesn't get you out of the buffer, but if you were to grow it out 10 feet for your garage here, and then you bring it back, so you almost have like your addition comes off the back, but also comes out 10 feet. That pulls
Instead
you
of-
further away from the stream. You're still in the buffer zone, but I mean, I don't see any other way to do it.
That septic tank's about 9 feet from the end of the house on the left side. If
Over
you go
here?
directly in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying if you
I've had to open the cover to have a pump, so that's why.
come
I know.
out like where the existing
It's-
deck is, and you're
Right,
bringing your
you're coming
addition
back.
off, you're bringing it off the corner.
Mhm.
So your edge of your addition's here, and it's coming back this way. I mean, that's the only,
Yeah, and that's existing.
It was-
and I don't know how close you can be to this. Yeah,
If I, through the chair, if I could just say, it'd probably have to be 12 to 13, because
Yeah.
on either side of a garage, you need a foot, foot and a half,
right.
just to be able to put rollers for the door and everything else, and I'm not, do you have an oversized door, cause your
Yeah,
trucks are taller?
it's 9 by 9 going in, and it's a 15 foot by 23 bay. For SUV, is what I'm trying to do. Not putting my own truck in, I'm trying to let the family have a spot.
So I think what it sounds like is any way we can pull it further out, even if you can't get it completely out, would be beneficial.
You
like
mean
a-
the, pulling the addition
The addition out.
further away from the brook
So
instead of
even if
pulling
you
it out?
minimize it to the width of the garage and then bringing it back, the extent of the rest of the space that you're wanting to have or needing there, that may be feasible.
That retaining wall would have to move. I don't know if that's even, that retaining wall would have to move to the edge of the existing house.
Is the retaining wall existing?
No, it's not,
Okay.
but I would suggested to move it over like that so that it would secure the existing foundation and not compromise it,
Right.
was the thought behind it.
No, currently there's a grass hill
Yeah.
in front.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up the hill and then get into the doorway. The back is where it's
There's a-
handicap accessible.
There's a
You see the
retaining wall on the
garage,
left side already
and you're
to the
coming
garage,
off.
but not to.
Yeah, in this area right now, there's a retaining wall that allows passage here.
It's what, 470 drops down to 462 with the driveway, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of curve down in.
That's correct, and then you
Yeah.
can see the grading on the hill here.
Is that-
That's-
yeah.
Everything that's dashed is existing. Can we have a minute to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Come on.
So it is also existing lawns here.
Yeah.
It's a grass slope down. And this blueberry bush is here. It's within that area, but honestly, it's more extensive than 6. But again, you're changing the pervious surface to an impervious surface, but with grass, it's not substantial.
So you're talking about this area putting it in?
No, there's a septic tank, so you'd come off, I don't know what
So
your
I
offset
was
for the
saying-
septic, you'd come off the back, and you'd come over, so you'd have your garage should be in this area.
So you're talking this?
Yes,
Something like that?
yes.
You turn that deck into
You're
house.
taking this and you're rotating it this way to the master.
So
Their
you're
kitchen
relocating-
extension
Oh,
will
what you
come
want
here.
is what? Sketch it out.
Later.
Where you want blue?
The one thing we could offer is, the roof line of the existing house. Obviously, it's this way, this all pitches this way, this pitches this way. An addition went here, the roof couldn't really be split to match this existing roof. It would have to be a roof like,
Well, you could still have your roof line here, and then you have an addition off the back going with a roof line here that ties into this roof line like that, right?
So I just gave him another copy, so he's
Oh, okay.
drawing on your copy.
and then remove the deck from the back of the house.
So, yeah, we have a deck on the back.
Yeah, our front
The
deck
handicap
here.
ramp and deck.
Then this access roadway would have to get pushed out over the septic.
Mm. Why would it need to be over this?
Well, if the deck came to here, the
Oh,
driveway
I
would have
see
to
what
come out in
you're
this
saying.
area.
Well, I'm just suggesting that, I'm assuming
That goes on this.
you don't put it over the septic tank.
And the deck, if it did go over here, would be inside the 100 foot. 'Cause right now, it's currently outside.
Do you have a deck here?
Oh,
No, that's where the septic tank is.
Right, the tank's right here. Right, here's the tank.
Is deck considered pervious?
It depends, is there a roof over it?
No.
So, yeah.
Then it would still come off the kitchen where it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I may.
Yes.
But please,
Just-
Colin Nagle at one
Thank you.
56 Green Road, the abutter on this side here. The concern is impervious in the riverfront area, right? I mean, could that be offset by just putting a drywall that infiltrates the roof?
So that's an option. The other thing is our bylaw, which comes into play as well. So we have the adjacent upland resource area, which the commission's tasked with saying there's no net loss of resource area and no net loss of function of resource area. So when you're adding a structure into that, and that's why I keep mentioning briefly that it's lawn and that there's blueberry. So that's up to the
That's actually
commission
my-
to make
my-
that determination.
Is lawn really a resource area?
So-
I accept it's in the riverfront, but is it, like, it's
So
not
the resource
habitat?
area isn't the lawn itself, it's the adjacent upland resource area, so it's the buffer zone to the BBW, and the commission, under the local bylaw, establishes that itself as a resource area. So that's what the commission is questioning is.
Yeah, understood, but in terms of value, it's not, you know, it's a maintained lawn.
Yep.
It's not woodland or, you know, habitat as such.
It's not something that dissipates the flow of the water. I think that's exactly what you're saying. And
Right.
of course, there could be a recharge down here by some Caltech chambers or something put underground, which could completely 100% recharge any type of a structure that was put there.
Yeah, so that's basically what the commission's tasked with addressing right now.
And actually, lawn, 35% of the water runs off the lawn, would not penetrate into the ground, whereas if you put a structure there, 100% would recharge the aquifer, because you don't get 100% recharge in a lawn, no matter what the slope is.
Say that again?
If you have,
You mean putting a structure in with a infiltration for,
right,
dry well type
if
of
you
thing?
put, yes,
Okay,
Caltech
just wanted
chambers,
to clarify.
any
that.
type of a structure for recharge that was put in underground, 100% of the impervious would be recharging the aquifer. When you have a lawn condition, 35% runs off, gets into the brook, and it doesn't recharge the aquifer. It's wasted downstream. So actually, it would improve the condition of the resource area by recharging it.
I'm not even sure you need the Caltech chambers, probably just a drywall structure would do for a roof, that small.
Thank you. So I guess that would be another question, is how big of a resource area is a lawn as compared to a wooded?
So again,
Side
I
of the
think
hill.
we're phrasing this wrong, and I don't mean to be technical, but I think, back to what Connor said, it's the makeup of the resource area that you're questioning, not the resource area itself, because the resource area is 100 feet, it doesn't matter what it's made up of. Just like the inner riparian area, the outer riparian area, that riverfront area is still a riverfront area, whether there's a structure there or not. But that is up to the commission to determine whether or not a house versus lawn, a structure versus lawn is a net zero loss of a resource area or a net zero function of the resource area. And if it's not, it's conditionable. If it is, you have to revisit it. But the commission also has the ability to say, we'd like to see an alternative analysis. They also have the ability to say yes or no to it. So I don't know, is there any new questions from the commission? Or would you like to see anything else? I know we've drawn sketches, which is fine.
If I could just throw some food for thought, if the addition did stay the way it did, we wouldn't have to relocate a deck. We wouldn't have to rip up the backyard of the property. Everything could remain stagnant. It could remain in place, so there wouldn't be any breakup of material, any breakup of soil or anything back this way. It would only be into the side of the hill that's grass covered right now. This
So
back here would, a deck would leave from here to go to here, the building would come back into here, there'd be excavation through here. There is a sewer line that does go back, this is approximate. That would have to get looked at and revisited, it would be new to ours.
So there would be excavation obviously for that because the garage is going under it, so you have to basically put, not a foundation, but that's basically what
Yeah.
the garage is,
Yeah.
and then you're building on top of it.
Correct. My original reason for, for visiting, going this way was minimal impact. I was
Yep.
just trying to, make this as easy as possible for all parties.
Mhm.
And, and I'm 48, I'm not getting any younger, so I want to simplify it. All the doors, if you look at the plans, are 36 inches wide for a reason. I don't want to have to redo this ever.
Understood.
I'm trying to prepare for the long run.
Mhm.
The family's been on the property since the 30s, so.
So what do you do with the back part of the property? Do you farm that? Is it woodlot?
I I keep it maintained and mowed. We've talked about, trying to put a couple of cattle on it or something again. I'd like to, I just don't have the time right now in my life to do it.
Does your neighbor have
The
that?
neighbors, have, their son has expressed a lot of interest in putting cattle out there,
So you also had shown,
so,
slips you sent out to the neighbors,
yeah.
Mhm.
right? What was the result of that? Do people voice a yay or nay in those?
There wasn't a concern, there was a great, review by Connor about the property and, the responsiveness of the neighbor, being the Callahans. And then Bob Skansky, who is in a butter across the street.
North Street. Yeah.
Off of North Road, and he said, as proposed, he doesn't see any issues with it.
I know if it is a tributary to the Still River,
Mhm.
right? So he's upstream from me quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the flow at my house is no wider than this table at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty wet right now, so
Yeah.
he must be seeing relatively low flow at this point. You're gonna be at
Yeah.
least a mile upstream from me.
Yeah, so this stream channel though is it's a very defined channel, which is beneficial because even when, it does rise, it stays
It's
pretty much
steep,
within the
right.
It
UW.
follows itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't crest. The
Um,
only time I've ever seen it crest was '08, when we had the big ice storm, and it
Yeah.
crested everywhere.
And then you go from a 464 to a 470 as far as the elevation difference. So you have to have some substantial flooding for that to impact the house. And I think most of town would be underwater at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks as it's shown right there, there's probably at least an 8-foot rise that you'd have to get through. It's 8 feet over about 55 feet, I think the offset was,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Yes.
relatively steep.
And then the other question is, I know I'm familiar with the property because of Fawn Hills is right there, the entrance, but is everyone else okay? Site visits, not site visits?
I'm not sure, I remember looking at that house, I know Connor's house, I know his property.
Everything is flagged, I mean, if you wanna go
I
by.
mean, yeah, that would be
It's
easy
flagged
for us to,
property.
to
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come by.
including
the addition
including
is
the-
staked,
yep, the corners of
benchmark is shown,
yep, the corners of
the
the
flagging is all there for, edge of wet and also for the stream bed.
In which case, would you mind continuing to our next meeting to give us a chance to get out there if anybody needs to get out there? Or if you wanna get out there, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
can
know
get out
where
there.
it is, but if it's flagged, I'd love to go see.
It helps to take a look.
I was just saying,
It's up to the client, so
Yeah.
I have no.
Do we have to send out everything again?
no,
No.
no, yeah.
Like,
We
You
one of
open
them
public
showed up I
hearing.
never
Right,
met.
No,
Yeah,
I
So
felt
the-
bad enough having to do that to everybody.
no, the, continuation just basically says the commission wants to go out, it basically
Sure.
puts it on hold until the next meeting.
It can, I mean, you literally, everything can be seen on, when you're going down the road. He flagged everything bright blue and,
Yeah, but
I mean, it's.
You'd allow the commission to
I'll
come
go
on
right
property.
Yeah, go right on. There's no problem.
that would be
I
great.
mean,
So we wanna
All right.
schedule a site visit?
I'm
The
more
only
than-
time
I'm more
is
than-
this is sometimes blocked when we get rain, cause it gets,
Yeah.
wet.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
puts a
so-
cone and
Yeah.
it's not accessible,
Do
but
you
there
have
No,
is
yeah.
a small spot up
Yeah.
front that you
Yeah.
can certainly walk right up the hill and it's there.
Great.
Would you guys like to set a set time, or would you like?
Maybe
go
we
with
set
that?
Set
Yes.
time, yeah.
Yeah,
But do
I-
you wanna do that, when is everyone available?
Morning.
And, so, we're gonna back up for a second. January 28th or February 4th for the next meeting? Which one? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Because I
Does
have
it,
it
does it
scheduled
matter
as-
to you guys?
I have
Yeah,
it
no,
scheduled
no,
as
it's
January
fine.
4th.
I'm trying to do all my I'm not gonna start construction. I still need to go to Mike to get the permit and stuff. I wanted to do all this first.
Yeah.
I had met with Rebecca months ago during the summer and tried to start doing all my legwork to make sure I was, coming prepared.
Yep.
And do my diligence and have the drawings done so that we had a visual, not just.
But you weren't gonna,
And-
think about a foundation until
No,
March.
I'm not thinking about till March, because
Okay.
I don't want winter concrete with calcium in it.
Mhm.
I want regular, straightforward, drying concrete that, so it doesn't get all chalky and,
You're planning on staying here the rest of your life?
my original trade was I was a carpenter. I started the tent business 21 years ago just because I was like, the carpentry business went up and down like a yo-yo, and I'm like, I need something steadier. This is all over the place. So, weddings and graduations happen every year.
Always in
Relative.
Alright.
So we have February 4th then is the next meeting, and we'll put you on at 7:05. And we have something quick before, that's already in line. And for is there any dates that you would, or days of the week that you'd prefer not to have a site visit on the property?
Next Tuesday morning, I'm tied up. I have a doctor's appointment.
So not Tuesday.
But
What
other than that,
is-
being self-employed, I will make myself available for you guys.
So not the 21st,
So we can keep the.
So we can do-
the 20th.
not the 20th either, so we have Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of next week as the earliest.
And I'm
I will
fine.
not be here any of those days, actually.
So the 27th, 28th, 29th?
Those are all, no.
Well,
I'm gonna be gone from the, wait, 27th is a Monday?
Yep,
I'll be here.
okay.
And 28th, yeah.
Bill?
I can go any morning.
Good in the afternoons.
Okay, so we'll have to do two. Availability,
Morning is better.
morning.
So
I
you
could
wanna
do
morning
either
this
or,
week?
but if we're gonna do an afternoon, afternoon's probably better for me. 27th works fine.
So does the 27th work for you?
Sure.
Okay.
And that's what, Monday?
Monday,
It
27th.
is, it's right.
And what time you wanna go? 9?
I can go, I have to drop off, preschool drop off at 9:15,
9:30?
maybe there at 9:15, 9:30.
So I just need a request from you as well to continue until the next commission meeting, just for the record.
Okay. Yeah,
You're supposed to act within a certain time frame, and
okay,
that time frame will be exceeded by the next meeting, so you have to ask for continuance.
okay. Can we have this as a continuance for the February 4th meeting?
Absolutely.
Sure can, yeah. In that case, I would like to, are we,
What did we
Rough.
say for the 27th? Oh, we'll
So
just
the
go,
27th, what time in the morning?
what do you wanna do?
We can do 9:15.
9:15 would be awesome.
Is that okay?
And that's what, Monday?
Monday.
Is it
Monday
Monday?
the 27th. Afternoon,
anytime after 2. I mean, I'm probably available earlier.
The later the better, as long as it's light
Yeah,
out,
sure.
if that works. I
Maybe
mean,
8
So
o'clock.
what
Yeah.
time would you like?
4:30?
He
Is
said
that
4 o'clock is great.
4 o'clock? Yeah.
How
How about 4 o'clock?
Thank you very much for your time and
Thank you.
Yeah.
your dedication being volunteers.
Thank you.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 164 Green Road until our next public meeting, February 4th, 2020,
Second.
at 7:05.
Have a nice evening, I think.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. We will see you Monday.
Monday the 27th,
Yes.
Yeah.
at 9:15, and again at 4 o'clock.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was just saying, if you can't be there, I mean, if you're there in the morning and you can't be there in the afternoon,
If you're okay
we'll
with
figure it
it.
out. If you're
Yeah.
there, that's great, but if you can't be
Yeah.
both times, like.
And I'll
don't
communicate
lose
that in the email. so that
Perfect.
You have a written reminder.
And you have my email address.
Yes.
I don't know if he has one on file. So that's it.
No, I'll email you. You can respond to this.
Does anybody want a copy of the plans that
We
we're
have
looking
one
at?
copy, I think,
Okay.
and then we have the printed
take one.
copies.
You can,
Thank you.
there you go. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So while you're reading through the minutes, the NACC Annual Environmental Conference will be held on February 29th, 2020. Expect to see those of you who can make it there. I will be there. I will be sending out an email as a reminder with the various workshops. Let me know which ones you would like to register for, and I will address that for you. I would like to know by the end of next week, if possible.
Yep.
In addition, MAPC, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which we are a part of, have released their up-to-date data common on mapc.org, which provides us with a great amount of regional planning information and resource information, natural resource information. The other item is we received a proposal from Beaver Solutions for this budget year, which is what we included in our budget, and it's the annual maintenance agreement, which is $558, but there's also a separate proposal which can be included as well, because we did include this as a potential, and we have yet to go see advisory. So we'll speak with them if the commission feels that this should be taken out or shifted around. The old pond leveler, so we replaced one of the pond levelers at Bower Springs, so that's the flow device that's there. And now the opposite side of it is old and degrading. It's not in disrepair yet, but they were just sending us the proposal in the event that we wanted to replace that this year or wait until next year to do it. And that would be $960, so similar to what we just spent to replace the other one. And they do, of course, have their maintenance guarantee, and they give us a discount because we have flow devices, multiple flow devices in town that DPW just installed as well. Is the commission okay with that proposed price for the annual maintenance?
How close was that to what we?
Exact. The only thing is I need to double check with the upper pond flow device replacement, but again, that can wait until next year, it seemed. But that's something else. And last two, I'll save that one. We did receive, this is just all mail that we received. We received a copy of a new forest cutting plan for DiPietro Maple Street Stowe, which is where the frontage is for these properties. The comments that were sent back, we have 10 days to comment. We received this on the 13th. of January, even though it states it was sent to DCR the 9th of January. We have 10 days to comment on it. I reiterated that the same comments from the last cutting plan still apply. There's still a court order to restore the property, because there were multiple violations on the property, obviously resulting in litigation. The only difference is, this cutting plan is now focused towards the rear upland, what I believe may be all upland property. We're not 100% because we don't have an up-to-date delineation of the resource areas. And the closest resource areas are showing exactly on the edge of 100 feet, and not having an up-to-date delineation, that concerns me. Also, that no restoration under the court order has taken place. The skid trails are going through what is stated on the plan as an existing road, an existing driveway, but in fact there is no existing road or existing driveway. These are areas that have been in violation and multiple reoccurring violations, and that's why now it looks like a cart path or a road of some sort. But I wasn't sure if the commission had if they were comfortable with just reiterating that, or if there was anything else that you would
Can I
think
see
of. Yes.
I run by this all the time.
I can't think of anything additional.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what.
So you know
to
where-
add.
Since
I know where
Stowe
Bell
shared
Alpaca Farm.
Especially
similar
exactly.
comments as well.
where it's.
And
yeah,
to be clear,
there's
it
an
was
existing-
denied, the first cutting plan was denied by DCR.
It's off of,
And so now
This is
they've
Maple,
come
so if
back
you go
to
up,
try and,
but what's the
um,
road that comes off
reinvent the
of
cutting
Long
plan.
Hill?
Long Hill turns
And
into
if I
Woodley,
remember
this is
correctly,
Teal
it
Road.
was
Teal,
That's
thank
in
you.
denied
It's
because
off of
they
Teal Road.
hadn't,
Yeah, it just
was
runs right.
because they
into it.
hadn't fulfilled the orders that are currently in place.
yes, and
Right.
because of the proximity to resource areas.
Yep.
And in addition to that, we
Alright, so
can't
now
issue
they're-
permits locally because it's in tax title.
Gotcha.
I think they're cutting all of this, or?
So if you look through the first pages,
Yeah.
it will show you the amount that's being cut, but it is,
Does-
it's a forest cutting
Does
plan.
this go up against any more land at
Yes.
all? Because any more just kind of
Eventually it
parallels
does, it actually abuts the Lord property, and then over to the east, it eventually abuts Moore. So where the
You don't
stream
even
comes
show
down.
any offsets, they don't show any buffer zones or anything on here?
So you'll know, it shows exactly 100 feet from the resource area to the proposed project area.
So I think that's the point, that the new cutting plan is to say, all right, nothing's in the resource area for this cutting plan.
Right.
Doesn't still address the existing orders that hadn't been completed,
Yeah.
but
So
now
one
it's
of-
an attempt to say, okay, well, nothing's in the resource area, so.
One of the comments from Stowe was a reminder about the memorandum of understanding between DCR and DEP establishing, obviously, respect to the Land Protection Act, Rivers Act, and other things for these circumstances that come up. And Stowe basically stated, which I reiterated the same, is if the DCR feels that they are able to approve such a plan, that it be conditioned that the court order of restoration needs to be addressed first, and those items need to be completed, wetland delineation needs to be completed, and then reassess the project area prior to any cutting taking place. Whether or not that occurs, I don't know, but Stowe has also asked for an extension of the comment period, because they don't meet until next.
This is Long Hill, it's Teal.
But again, I have heard nothing back. I've just received this on the 13th.
So I really can't think of anything else to add other than.
Yeah.
And again, delineation, so it's hard for us to say.
Remember that place we looked at?
Right, yeah.
On Long Hill Road.
Is it right in here?
It's like right over here.
Oh, it's,
If you go up a little bit further, I think anymore, where it just goes up, to all these like apple orchards.
oh, okay, that's the one right there.
Yeah, that's Anymore Road.
But you can go right through here, right? This doesn't quite show.
Yeah, this is Long Hill, runs into Woodley, goes right into Hudson.
And you're somewhere in here?
Yeah. Right there.
Okay,
This
so I don't,
right here.
I don't think I've ever been on Maple Street,
Currently
or
I'm
this
on,
Teal Street.
currently I'm on Stratton Hill.
So Teal turns into Maple once you cross into Stowe.
Yeah, you usually just go through that stop sign.
It's only
20
40.
miles an hour.
This is recorded,
There was a cop sitting out.
just in case you were
The
wondering.
very first time I went down that hill, I was going about
So-
35 miles an hour, it was like coming
Everybody
down.
The MVP program, we do not have an update on yet, so we're supposed to hear mid-January, so I expect within the next, hopefully by the end of this week, but by next week, we'll see an announcement. And then we are going to be holding an environmental forum on January 21st in the Bolton Public Library. Just again, informal, but having, the conversation about adaptation, resiliency, what are things on people's minds now? What have other towns, when they've gone through the MVP process, what has been the result as encouraging practices, or whether it be, green infrastructure, nature-based solutions, or simply preserving more land, or, that sort of a focus. Everyone's okay with this though, the forestry council? And then for the Taggart property, no updates yet. I am in conversation with the appraiser whom we used for Camp Virginia when we were asked to assist with that. And then we will be, once I find out that information, get the proposal, I'll be applying to the Small Communities Grant to hopefully seek reimbursement for that appraisal. And Ms. Taggart she'll be back in the area around March, so she has asked that we meet, obviously, when she's in the area, and I'm more than happy to do so on her time, on her availability, rather. And in addition to that, the only thing she asked about the appraisal is to be notified, when it will occur, so that she knows who's out on the property. I think lastly, aside from the minutes, we had our first mosquito response committee meeting. They are all public hearings, they're advertised, public can come and attend them. This was discussing the organizational structure of the committee. We nominated a chair, and then a discussion of what the purpose of the committee will be, and we'll have more of a formalized version of that. But there was a lot of good ideas floating around. We're going to be asking, Central Mass Mosquito Control, I apologize, I forget the exact name, to just come in and give a presentation about what they do, what services they offer, and see if, that's a fit for the town of Bolton, and then we'll be discussing following to see if that is an option. And then in addition to that, we're researching natural solutions, or encouraging more functional solutions versus introducing a natural spray or natural pesticide, or a synthetic chemical. So
What about like mosquito boxes that they have on wildlife refuges? Did
Mhm.
anyone discuss that? Or is anybody,
what do you mean, like the monitoring?
aren't they, the blue boxes they have? If you
Yeah.
go, and they have like in the marshes, and
Yep.
is that an option?
So that's the
That's-
function base that I'm talking about, so
Next
that's
meeting.
something we're looking into.
Yeah, dragonfly nymphs.
So we talked a lot about potential biocontrol, like
Yeah,
flies.
like proactive
Yeah.
measures as opposed to
Yeah, and that's,
aerial spraying.
we're trying to understand or create a reactive versus proactive plan,
Yeah,
and then, but also have both of those.
Got
and
it.
protocols associated. So I think it's off to a good start, and I think everyone's on the same page as far as what needs to come out of it,
yeah.
but we just are starting to do more research on what options are out there,
Mhm.
and then we'll boil it down.
Does Bolton spray at all now?
No. Bolton town does not, the school did.
So if a private residents in Bolton wanted to spray, could they go off and hire somebody and spray?
They can,
They
they
can,
did.
they have.
Lots of people
Yeah.
did
They-
last
Yeah,
year.
put signs in there, yeah.
Physically, they can. I'll put it that
Okay.
way.
So there's a friend of mine in Berlin, which doesn't have any relevance to this conversation. I was taking care of the goats that I gave him one night this summer when he was gone. Guy comes down his driveway spraying,
Yeah,
right?
so that's,
He's got little kids and chickens, they eat the eggs and it's like,
Yeah.
this
And
doesn't make
well,
sense.
even the natural sprays aren't good for other living.
No,
creatures.
that's what I'm wondering,
So-
is it possible for citizens to spray in Bolton, I guess the answer is
Yes, right?
physically, anything is physically possible. I'll put it that way. Whether it's allowed or not, that's
yes.
a
Okay.
different question. The Board of Selectmen have typically
So we're looking to come up,
deterred and not encouraged spraying of pesticide, use of fertilizer, herbicides.
right,
Which are used widely in this town.
We
Yes.
do put it
Say that
on
again?
orders of
They're used widely in
condition.
this town.
We also put it on
Fertilizers,
Yeah.
pesticides,
oh, fertilizers, yeah,
herbicides.
pesticides, I could see,
Tick
even on the
spraying.
orchards too, right, I see them
Yep.
spraying all the time.
Right.
I've got a couple of beehives.
Those work. Yeah.
So come to the mosquito
What's in my
response
hand?
committee if you would like
Yes.
to share your
I
thoughts.
think you should leave.
When is
And
it?
we will have
I
like
might
a
do that.
broader presentation meeting at some point. Our next one is the 21st,
My son
next
does
Tuesday,
It's,
at 9 a.m.
He's in
Oh,
med
it's in the
school now,
morning.
so I don't get anywhere else.
This is nice.
okay.
Very nice. Yeah, 21st or, excuse me, or the 28th, because they were looking to see when those individuals could come in to give the presentation.
Did you have a chance to look at the minutes?
I did, yeah, I didn't see anything.
Bill, any
Anything else?
questions on the
No
minutes?
questions.
Wait,
No
was Kip here
Kip
last
gets
time?
to
I was
sit
not
this
here.
one out,
Okay, so we can't vote,
but we have 3 of the 4 that were here. Right? No?
but it's still a quorum for the commission.
Yeah.
Oh, quorum for that meeting.
Did we decide 3 was a
Well,
quorum
we
because
have-
we're not full? We only have 6 members.
But it's the majority.
FaceTime,
He's
can you
a good
FaceTime
lawyer.
Jeff?
I mean, we could easily approve them by next meeting.
I mean, it's a.
I'm happy to wait
Go
till the
ahead.
next meeting, just because I know Bill likes to read through them again, maybe in a week, make sure if there's anything he didn't catch this time.
Jeff gave me his proxy, I'll vote, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right, we can approve them next time.
Jeff tonight.
So we don't have official minutes.
Okay.
Anything else?
In February, we are working with Sudbury Valley trustees for our last workshop that we had to put off regarding agricultural practices, but APR specifically, which is encouraging agricultural practices on conservation land or preserved land. And that will be the, apologize, I'm looking at the calendar. Will be February 25th or 26th. Something will be posted shortly. They're working on an ad for it. And it will be at 7:30 p.m.
And where will that
Probably
be?
about 9:30.
Here in Bolton?
We're working on that.
Oh,
It was supposed to be on a property, but they changed it to an evening, which would mean we're gonna be inside because it's dark. So we will double check that, but I would imagine it's in Houghton or the library.
Any other updates?
No.
All right, in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the Tuesday, January 14, 2020 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission.
I second that.
All those in favor?
I
Aye.
So adjourned.